By Tuesday morning, down to -7, -8 across parts of Scotland. That will have also plenty of sunshine on Tuesday, almost wall-to-wall sunshine for many, and notice those temperatures increasing as we go through the week too.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could be the next big winner of the Great British Giveaway, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. Cash that you'll be able to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not one, but 2 sought-after designer watches, so you can style it out this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new Royal Newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Welcome to Lee Anderson's Real World. Tonight on the show we have Reem Ibrahim. Back on the show we've got Andy Twelves, we've got former Ollie Harrison and sports broadcaster Aidan McGee. But first, let's go to the news.
Hi there, very good evening to you. Our top stories. We begin with the Health Secretary, who's apologised for causing anxiety amongst administrators in the NHS, but says hundreds more health-related quangos could be scrapped. Wes Streeting's acknowledged there will be significant job losses following the decision to abolish NHS England to bring the health service back under the control of ministers. He says the surprise move's the beginning, not the end of his plans to slim down the UK's bloated public services. Well, he refused to be drawn on whether the government will indeed freeze personal independence payments as part of their reforms. Work and Pensions Secretary Liz Kendall is understood to be watering down her radical cuts to the welfare budget. Asked about that speculation that disability benefits may be frozen, Wes Streeting said he's not yet seen the full proposals, but is sure Ms Kendall will support those who need it most. 4 arrests have been issued for arrest warrants after a nightclub fire killed at least 59 people in North Macedonia. 150 others have been injured. The blaze broke out at a nightclub in the town of Koçani in the early hours of this morning. The country's Interior Minister told a news conference the fire started because of fireworks set off inside the venue. It's about 60 miles east of the capital, Skopje. Authorities in the US have confirmed at least 34 people have died after deadly tornadoes ripped through several southern states. Cars were flipped over, homes were flattened. Tornado warnings remain in place. The National Weather Service has warned of particularly dangerous conditions, and a state of emergency has been declared in Arkansas, Georgia and Oklahoma, amongst other states. Yemen's Houthis claim to have targeted a US aircraft carrier in the Red Sea without providing further evidence. It's in response to American attacks on Yemen overnight. President Trump launching a wave of attacks against the Houthis. He says in response to Israeli ships being targeted in the Red Sea, authorities in Yemen say at least 31 people have been killed. And St Patrick's Day celebrations have been taking place in London with the annual parade. Well, the procession's made its way through the city from Hyde Park Corner to Whitehall and into Trafalgar Square. They've been showcasing Irish arts, performance, culture, food and dance. We'll bring you plenty more of that as we go through the evening. That's it for the moment. More from me around 7 o'clock.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome to Lee Anderson's Real World. I'm Lee Anderson, the Reform UK Member of Parliament for Ashfield, and joining me tonight, she's back on the show, Reem Ibrahim, but with a slight twist. She's our left in the corner. We've been speaking before the show and something's changed, but she's our left in the corner tonight. And again, Andy Twelves, trade unionist, and it says here, Andy, you are a media strategist. Who's written this? You?
I think the producers. I'm strategising media, I'm told.
OK, did you hear that? Strategising media. Yeah. Listen, guys, as problems engulf the Labour Party over the slashing of benefits, Reem, we keep hearing over the past few weeks that at the end of the month there's going to be an announcement made from the Labour Party that they're going to slash benefits. If you're on a walking stick, a Zimmer frame, in a hospital bed, you better watch out because Labour's about. What do you reckon?
Well, those aren't the people that have to watch out. The point is the welfare state and the number of people on long-term sickness benefits has significantly increased since the pandemic. So it's not people with a Zimmer frame or with a walking stick.
How
it's
do you
people
know?
that claim that
How do you know, Reem?
It's people that claim they have anxiety or depression and end up claiming long-term sickness benefits. So let's be very clear about this. There are a tenth of the adult working population on long-term sickness benefits. And many of those people are young. I mean, we've seen between 2021 and 2022, 63,000 people went from being economically inactive because they were students to then being economically inactive because they were on long-term sickness benefits. I think it is absolutely unfair that there are huge amounts of people across the country working incredibly hard and paying the highest tax burden since the Second World War. And then there are people that are sitting at home being paid to do absolutely nothing.
Well, talking about the economically inactive, let's go to somebody who's never had a proper job. Andy, come back on this one, mate.
I think, first of all, I have had a proper job. I had a HMRC legally says I've had a proper job for a while. The Steve Bray defence, I think this isn't what Labour's about. Labour should be standing up and protecting those who are vulnerable and those who can't look after themselves. And I just don't think this is the ethos of the Labour Party, or it shouldn't be the ethos of the Labour Party in government.
And a lot of these people aren't vulnerable. These are people that absolutely can work.
How do you know?
Because a tenth of the adult working population are on long-term sickness benefits, Andy. Some of those people absolutely can work.
I mean, I don't know how you can say that. None of us know these people. None of us have medical degrees. How can we certify this? We can't. We just...
Because I'm sorry, having anxiety doesn't make you disabled.
We're sat in Westminster going, these people are lazy, these people are lazy, these people are lazy. We don't know these people. And it shouldn't be the Labour government that's
I will say, I'm not saying that all of those people are lazy. I'm saying that the benefit system has trapped them. A lot of them effectively are saying, you know what, if I've got kids and I'm being paid £40,000 a year by the government in child benefit and in disability benefits, ultimately, why would they go and get a job? The government, I mean, we've basically all been taking
There's a bit of a reversal here, Andy, if you think about it, because the Labour Party traditionally has been on the side of the shirkers, the lazy, the scroungers. These are all words that are out there. But now it appears that they're going to, Reem thinks they're doing the right thing. I sort of agree with Reem. There are lots of people out there swinging the lead. I see it in my own community. I see it around the country where you've got a street full of people that go to work, put a shift in, work hard. Then there's one family who's never done a shift in their life, probably third, fourth generation, never done a stroke. They're on benefits. They're living in the same sort of housing, sometimes nice, big social housing on a private estate, and it winds people up.
I mean, given the fact you've been Labour, Tories and Reform, you are well acquainted with their policy positions, I'm sure. But I mean, talk about social housing. Social housing in Sutton, it's hardly big and luxurious, is it? I mean, that's... You painted it a bit falsely there.
Let me just educate you a little bit, because obviously you've not been to Sutton recently.
I was there in December.
Andy, let me tell you how it works. When we build these new housing estates, these nice, big, posh houses, there has to be an allocation on these housing estates for social housing. Now, you get the situation, and it's a big problem for me in Ashfield, because you get these people who are busting a gut, they're paying the mortgage on these new housing estates, then this family moves in next door.
And they're getting it for free?
For free. Not all of them are nuisance families, but we've got a lot of nuisance families in these brand new houses, not paying rent, council tax, anything, living a life on benefits, causing mayhem, antisocial behaviour. Meanwhile, next door, they're going to work and they're in debt and they're really, really struggling.
And I also just want to add, by the way, it's not just about those people that are being incredibly lazy. I mean, those people that are being trapped. It's not just about the fact that it's a huge waste of hard-earned taxpayer money. It's ultimately a waste of human potential. These are people that could be contributing to the economy, that could be doing something with their lives that aren't, and it's because the current system disincentivises them to do so. So you know what? When this government is saying, I want to actually cut the amount of people that are on benefits, I support them.
I mean, it's this kind of right-wing myth that people exist to contribute to the economy. There is more to life than contributing to the economy. Let's make that perfect.
Whoa, hold on.
We don't just live to work.
It's not about living to work, but these people are literally not working and other people are working to pay for them to sit at home.
The idea that if you're not working, you're a waste of society is
those people are, Andy, they are literally doing nothing with their lives, sitting at home, doing nothing.
So you say,
how is that fair? How is it fair for hard-earned taxpayers across the country to pay for those people to be sat at home? How is that fair? Can you look in the eye and tell the guy that's working 9 till 11 p.m. every single day and say, you know what, I know you're working really hard, but this guy over there's got anxiety, so you're going to have to pay for him too. Is that fair?
Is it fair, Andy?
My question is
it fair? Is it fair?
You can't make sweeping generalisations. You say a tenth of the working population is on long-term sickness. Fine. But then you say, well, some of them do deserve long-term sickness, some of them don't. Where would you draw the line? Which percentage? Out of that 10%, where would you...
All of those people that have physical illnesses.
Yeah, and what percentage is that, Reem?
If you are on a Zimmer frame...
What percentage is that? What percentage?
I have no idea what the percentage is because we don't know. We don't distinguish.
So we don't know.
We don't distinguish between, Andy, we don't distinguish between people with mental illness and physical illness. If you have anxiety or depression, that does not necessarily mean that you cannot work, and that is my point.
So we don't know. The point is we don't know. Thanks.
Because the government don't analyse those statistics.
Let's just change course a little bit. I need to calm down. Reem, you tell me that your family from Egypt.
Yes,
that's
half
true.
Egyptian. Yeah.
So how many people in Egypt do you think are suffering with anxiety and on the club, not going to work, watching the widescreen TV all day?
Absolutely none of them. This is the point. If you go back in Egypt, where my father is from in Egypt, if you told the government I've got anxiety so I can't work, they would laugh in your face. If you don't work, you would starve. That's the point.
In this country, model society.
No, in this country, if you... My point is, Andy...
Well, if you've got nobody suffering from anxiety, maybe they are.
There's nobody suffering suffering from anxiety in North Korea, but we won't model our society on that. I mean, that's
If
not
you
a good
are
precedent to
physically
set, is
able
it?
to work, you should.
Come on.
But there's also the broader point here, my point about it being a waste of human potential. Where is the evidence that the best thing for somebody with depression or anxiety is for them to stay at home? Ultimately, in work, you get dignity, you get respect, you have a schedule, you're able to wake up in the morning and have something that structures around your life. If you are being told by the state, by the government, that you're only good for nothing and you've got to stay at home and do nothing, that's going to make your depression and anxiety worse. So tell me, Andy, where is the evidence that somebody with depression is better off at home taking benefits?
I don't know, but I'm sure it's staying at home and taking benefits.
You seem to think that that's
when you're clinically depressed, it's probably better than working minimum wage being abused in an Amazon warehouse. Objectively,
How is that abuse?
Oh, come on, let's not dispute the Amazon warehouse.
You think Amazon
Let's not
workers
dispute
have
the
been
Amazon warehouse.
abused?
Yes, that has been well documented.
Please do explain to me what
That's been well documented across many employment tribunals.
What's the abuse?
Many employment
Are these
tribunals.
people that are unable to do a hard
There's nobody
work?
from Amazon here to defend. I've got what you've got is an opinion, okay?
Sure.
I've got an informed opinion.
Right.
So I went to Amazon about 3 weeks ago and visited their site.
Which one?
In Sutton Ashfield.
What, like Reservoir?
Yeah, by the reservoir, yeah.
And the one that's currently unionising because of the awful working practices there.
Listen, stop being rude. You're sounding like Matthew Stadlen at the moment.
Oh,
You
God
keep
forbid.
putting it.
God
So
forbid.
I went to visit them. I met staff. I know staff on my street that work there, and they're perfectly happy.
I think the employment tribunals going on at that warehouse specifically would disagree.
I can only go on what people on my street who work there tell me.
Not
now,
law.
if there was
what the judicial reviews are saying.
If there was a problem there, I'd be all over.
Andy,
it.
what is
There is objectively is. There objectively is.
What is this abuse? You think it's abuse to have somebody work a actual day?
Well, the
I'm saying the fact that they're not giving them breaks, the fact that their algorithms of performance are completely skewed against humans.
Let's get back to the main argument. Guys, Andy,
is objective and it's well.
Let's get back to the main argument. We've got Reem as a left in the corner today, not because she's a lefty. It's because for once she's actually agreeing with the Labour government. You're sort of not attacking the Labour government, disagreeing with their current policy on this. But, I think Reem's got a point. I do like to remain impartial on this show, but there are far too many people in this country swinging the lead, and the anxiety and the mental health, although it does exist, I know it does because I've seen it, is the new bad back, Reem.
Well, this is the point, right? I'm not just saying that these are people that are lazy. That's not my point. What I'm saying is the incentives are wrong. When you've got huge numbers of people that are being told, I'll give you an example. So Fraser Nelson did a documentary with Channel 4, which I know we don't like, but they did a documentary where he effectively said he's going to go and talk to these people that are on benefits and see what's actually going on. There was a young woman who was just a couple of years older than me, who had a very young son, and said, you know what, if I went to go and retrain, if I went to go and seek out work, I would have all of my benefits taken away from me. She was being given £40,000 a year. It's incentives. Why would she? It should be stupid, effectively, to go back to work. The system is broken.
Is it right?
And that's my point.
Is that right, Andy? Someone's getting £40,000 a year on benefits.
I think if the incentive that work is awfully paid and you don't have very good conditions, that's on the employers. The employers should be legislated to provide better working conditions.
The average wage in Ashfield is about 28 grand.
Yeah.
And someone's getting 40 grand on benefits. Is that fair?
No.
Thank you.
But I think the responsibility doesn't lie with that person. If they're on benefits, the
penny has dropped.
Unemployment benefits is different to long-term sickness. Let's make that clear.
It's still a benefit.
It's
still
majority of people that receive benefits are in work.
It's still
majority of people that receive benefits are in full-time employment. Let's make that clear.
But a tenth of the adult population are on long-term sickness benefit. This is my point.
We've already distinguished. We can't tell the difference between those on legitimate long-term sickness and those who aren't. But that's besides.
I don't believe that being depressed and having anxiety classifies you as long-term sick. Can I also just
I
add,
respect
by the
your
way,
medical opinion there, Reem, but I trust
when
the
you are
doctors.
classified as long-term sick, you are completely ignored by the job centres. You're not classified in unemployment statistics, so literally nobody speaks to you. You are completely left to disappear. And I think more than anything, it's a waste of human potential.
Yeah, I agree with that. Don't you agree with that, Andy?
I think employers should be paying more
Do you know what?
to incentivise people to
in the
get back into work.
1940s, just after the war.
Were you there, Lee?
No, I wasn't.
Were you at 21 there?
Listen, don't be ignorant. But just after the war, 95% of people who were disabled in this country had a job. You know what?
That's because they were mandated to work, wasn't it?
What's up with that?
Oh,
What's up with that?
No, mandated to work because it was a post-war society.
Because they were supported, they were mentored, and they were looked after in the workplace.
Well, I don't think people with shell shock were mentored very well, were they?
A lot of
people with PTSD weren't treated very well, were they? Lee? Come on.
A lot of people that are classified as disabled under your terms, Andy, actually want to work, and many of them are able to do so with different ways, and employers are becoming more and more inclusive in that way.
Are they? I don't think they are.
Well, look, that was a lively debate. I think I like to see you as left in the corner, Reem, even though your politics are completely opposite to Andy's. Bit of a mismatch there. I think Reem beat you on that one, mate. But you're going to have a chance later on to get back. But coming up next, we've got Ollie Harrison, who's is he a farmer? He is. He's a farmer.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Throughout my life, music has meant a great deal to me. It has that remarkable ability to bring happy memories, comfort us in times of sadness, and to take us to distant places. But perhaps above all, it can lift our spirits to such a degree, and all the more so when it brings us together in celebration. In other words, it brings us joy. So this is what I particularly wanted to share with you, songs which have brought me joy. This seemed such an interesting and innovative way to celebrate this year's Commonwealth Day. Thank you for listening. I wish you all every possible blessing.
Well, there you go.
Do you know, I love him.
Yeah, I do too, and I love that song as well.
Just the way he delivers that, and wish you every possible blessing. What a man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just adore that. I adore him.
He's very like his late mother there, actually. I wish you every possible blessing. Very like her. Well, as you saw, the show is called The King's Music Room, where he's going to share his top tracks and opens up about his love of music.
Let's talk to our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker. When I first heard about this, I was sceptical that he'd picked this music himself. Watching that, I suspect he probably has.
I think he has, and I understand he will be sharing anecdotes with meeting some of these artists, of course, from across the Commonwealth, from across the decades, when this news show launches on Apple Music on Monday to mark Commonwealth Day. This was recorded in his office, and...
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Well, welcome back to this show, and this is a new section of the show. It's called Real World, Real People. We're going to do this every now and again on this show. And I've got Ollie Harrison. You're a farmer up in the northwest. That's somewhere near Liverpool, I believe.
Yeah.
St Helens, that sort of area. Is that right?
Yeah, so between the river and St Helens, we've got a bit of different pockets all over.
So you've been spending quite a bit of time in London over the past few months with quite a few other farmers. You know, they keep pipping their horns outside my office on Westminster Bridge, but you're coming down for a particular reason, Ollie. You're not quite happy with this government's plans to implement inheritance tax. How's that going to impact you? And just put it in plain English for our GB News viewers.
So, as everyone knows, land has a specific value, buildings, machinery, livestock. It's just out of scale of what we can produce from the farmland. So, if my father was to pass away, the tax bill that I would have would just mean that I couldn't afford to pay it. I've not got.
What would the tax bill be, do you think?
I'm probably one of the lucky ones in some way because we have structured the business in such a way that a lot of the land of recently I've bought in my own name.
Okay.
Not from farming, no, from money made in other areas.
So you're tax dodging, are you?
No, I need that to prop up the income of the farm.
Okay.
So we used to rent a lot of land, but obviously rent, you pay the money, it's gone forever.
Yeah.
So the more that we could own, the better. So in the last sort of 7 or 8 years, little bits have come up here and there, and I've been able to borrow the money off the bank and get a mortgage. The main block of the farm and the buildings are all still in my father's name.
Yeah.
So if he was to pass away, you know, I'd probably have like a £600,000 tax bill. And when you think in a good year we might make 40,000, and last year we lost 220,000 growing corn because the weather was bad.
Yeah.
I can't pay that bill, so I will have to then chop off 30% of the farm.
So let's just get this right. In plain English, plain maths, simple maths. If your father passes away, you're going to be lumped with a tax bill for £600,000, and obviously you've not got that lying around at the back of the settee or in the bank. You've got to sell some assets.
Yeah, well, it's a business, a farm. And this is the really difficult thing to get across to Treasury. It's not like your parents pass away and they had a big house and no one needs it and you sell it off and you split it between your brothers and sisters or whatever. It's a business. No one owns a farm. You just look after it for the next generation. But technically, on paper, it does have an owner.
Yeah.
And this owner will end up with a tax bill on their death. Well, the grave robbing.
I think
tax.
that's the thing, Ollie, for me. It's that, you know, whilst you're alive, you're in charge of that farm. Then it goes to the next generation. It's not like you're selling up and flogging it off and divvying it out to all your family, is it?
No, and that's actually what we said to Treasury. Why don't you change it so that it's as it was? But if you were to divvy it up and cash in, you then pay a higher rate of tax, what you'd call a capital gains tax, and pay that over, and they'd actually generate more income from it. And they won't listen to us. They're like, no.
Why is it, you think, that the Treasury, the ministers, the government won't listen to you?
I think the only way is the fact that they just think, well, you've got something and we've not, so we want to make things fairer. But they don't understand that we've worked for that. We've worked 7 days a week in all weathers.
Yeah. But how is that, Ollie, long term, going to affect food security in this country?
Well, obviously, if I had to sell some land, a farmer wouldn't buy it because they're all in the same boat. The banks won't lend to them anymore because it's so unstable. So you're just going to end up like, I mean, I've got loads of factories near me. They'd just buy it and probably put it down to trees or something for carbon offsetting or solar panels, and then suddenly we're not growing food in the UK. And then we're you know, there's talk of war again. You're just like, this is bonkers. Yeah. They'll put money into the MOD, but an army march on its stomach. It doesn't matter how many tanks or boats you've got. You can't feed yourself, you can't function.
We see, Ollie, a lot of pressure being put on farmers. People sort of think that they're all multi-millionaires driving around in the big Range Rovers and going to Jim Corner events and all this sort of stuff.
I hate horses.
Well, you know, I know you run a cereal farm, don't you? And and every farmer I speak to, and it's been a lot, has sort of said it's going, this new policy is going to force some farms to close down. They're going to have to sell whole swathes of land off. I suppose, I mean, Rachel Reeves, if she was sat here now, she would argue that there's this £22 billion black hole we keep hearing about. They've got to plug the gap. We've also, you know, discovered this week there's another £10 billion of the missing. That's the fiscal headroom they was chirping on about last year. But, you know, she's got a job to do. She's got to try and balance the books, and she will argue that, you know, doing this will generate more income. But tell you what I want to ask you is, in Lincolnshire, which is one of our big farming areas, is next door to me, there's been a gas field discovered recently, which they say could fuel the nation for 10 years, generate over £100 billion in revenue and increase energy security. And for me, I'm pro-fracking, I would go for it. What would you say to a fracking company if they found it on your land?
They actually did. We used to have coal mines under us, so about 20 years ago they come drill down fine gas. At the time it was uneconomical to take out, but I reckon now it will be with the price of gas. But you know, what did they say? Drill, baby, drill.
Drill, baby, drill. Would you go for that?
If it's low impact, you know, and most of them are now, you know, they drill down, they can directional drill, and you don't even know that they're doing anything.
Yeah, and the sites aren't that big as well, the fracking sites. I think they're the size of a football pitch or something like that. Hundreds of farmers coming down on a regular basis now, you know, and they've been quite, I think, quite polite with how they've protested, quite nice. Is it going to be ramped up?
I think it's got to be, if they're not listening. You know, this 22 million black hole, I mean, oh my God, change the record.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's all she can say, you know what I mean? We've got to do more now, but we couldn't do more without educating the public to understand why.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we did on Monday. You know, we were talking about, you know, we brought £3 million worth of equipment that is all used to produce a pancake. What's a pancake? 30, 40 pence, 20 quid in London, whatever, you know.
Yeah. 20 quid in London?
Well, you know, we needed to say, look, this is the level of investment we are risking to produce your food.
Yeah.
And this 22 billion black hole, every pound of food not produced in the UK is imported.
Yeah.
So where's that money gone?
Yeah,
when's it coming back?
With lesser standards.
Lesser standards.
I totally agree.
We that is all money leaving the economy just to feed us. When we can produce it here, it rains here a lot. The sun shines sometimes. Us and New Zealand often share the record for the most tons of wheat per hectare.
Yeah.
You know, we should be using our land as productively as we can and produce as much food as we can. Not just going, oh, well, we'll go and get it from somewhere else.
And we want to buy British, don't we?
Yeah.
Ollie, thanks a lot. What a great conversation that is with Ollie the farmer. I need to get you back on at some stage. But coming up next, do not go away. We've got right versus left.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
I ended up being hospitalised, and I was diagnosed with it within the first few days of being in hospital. I was in hospital for 2 months, and I came out about 13 months ago, something like that. And I realised that there are people that aren't as lucky as me that don't have that platform to be able to talk about it, bring it out in the public, and deal with the stigma, because there is still a stigma.
A lot of people don't really know what bipolar is. So in you, Heston, how did it manifest itself?
It's funny because before the diagnosis, I mean, everything, many things, from thinking the TV was talking to me to hallucinating stuff. The downside is suicidal thoughts, which seemed normal at the time. The upside is the thing there's grandiosity, somewhere between Superman and Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Save the world, love everybody, everything is fantastic. And then it comes crashing down. It's a bit like a toddler, you know, an overexcited child. And when a kid gets overexcited, and then something happens, and then they start crying.
Wow. So massive highs, big lows.
Yeah, but I thought everything was normal. It's only now that I've come out the other side, so to speak, that I look back and can see some of the character traits. I mean, my patience levels were almost non-existent before. I'm a lot more patient. I'm talking much slower. I was talking very quickly.
GB News, the People's Channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
It's time for Right versus Left, and I'm delighted to be joined by Reem Ibrahim and Andy Twelves, and I'm going to let you into a little secret. Andy cannot drink champagne because it gives him tummy ache. What about that, guys?
Not champagne socialist. Maybe a red wine socialist.
Not a champagne socialist. Look, guys, we heard a lot of blather and bleating from the Labour Party before the election. Actually, I think it was in their manifesto about giving votes to 16-year-olds. All of a sudden, guys, they've gone pretty quiet on this, because I've seen some polling, I travel the country, And it turns out that a lot of 16-year-olds are planning to vote for Reform UK. Andy, over to you.
I mean, the King's Speech was 24th of July last year. It wasn't set out in the King's Speech, so it's not on the kind of...
But it wasn't in the manifesto.
Lots of things are in the manifesto that we haven't done yet. Also, votes at 16 isn't really
But that's not not the question I'm asking, Andy.
They haven't suddenly gone quiet. They've been quiet since the 24th
Have
of July.
they gone quiet?
In the King's Speech? No.
Have they gone quiet on votes for 16-year-olds because they see the support that Reform UK have from Gen Zers?
No, because it's just not a legislative priority and it wasn't in the King's Speech. That's why it's not been mentioned.
It clearly was a legislative priority before the election, but as soon as they realised the support
there are about
that
200
young
things in that
people
manifesto.
have for Reform UK, I think that did fear with them. The point is, the reason why the Labour Party wanted to reduce the voting age to 16 is effectively gerrymandering. The assumption is that younger people vote Labour, so if you increase the number of voters that vote Labour, you basically entrench the Labour government to win the next election automatically. That was an assumption that they made. Clearly, after the election, they realised that assumption was wrong. And actually, a lot of young people, yes, most of them do vote Labour, but a lot of 16 to 17-year-olds are increasingly supporting reform over the Conservatives, of course, which is really interesting. So I think that that's probably the reason why.
No, it's not. It's just not a legislative
But
priority.
what explains the difference between the manifesto and then the King's Speech?
There were about 200 things in the manifesto. All the 200 things in the manifesto weren't in the King's Speech. There are about, 15, 20 things in the King's Speech? Like, you can only do so much in a legislative year. You can't do... you can't do 200 things in the manifesto. Yeah, I'm sure it will feature at some point. Yes, I think it will probably feature at some point in the King's Speech. But unfortunately, of course, I don't work for the Labour Party. I don't represent the Labour Party's views. I'm a member. But I don't know what they're planning to do. But I'm sure it will feature in the King's Speech. It's just not in this year's.
Clearly, it's not a priority.
It's not.
As a result
it shouldn't be a priority.
That younger people are actually not all raging socialists. Many of them are. They're not all raging socialists, but many of them are actually quite supportive and quite enjoy reform.
It shouldn't be a priority. There are bigger legislative things to do than...
Just a few weeks ago, guys, I did an apprenticeship fair in Ashfield, huge event, and we had 200 young people come, and they ranged from about 16, 17, 18-year-old, that sort of age. And the amount of young lads that came up to me, wanted a picture, obviously, that told me that they were going to vote for Reform UK as soon as they could vote. I was absolutely astounded. And a lot of this was their attraction, their draw to Nigel Farage on his TikTok, on his social media, speaks out to young people and stuff like that. That was, for me, absolutely incredible.
I don't doubt it at all. I'm sure that Reform UK, they're an insurgent party. They're growing in popularity across many age groups. I don't doubt that, but that's not the reason it's not featured in the King's Speech. In fairness to Reform, you did well at the general election, but your recent surge in popularity came after the King's Speech. Surely you can accept that.
So how incredible is that? Reform got 4 million votes at the election, and even still, you're saying that their support now is even higher than that.
Yeah, so I'm not saying it, the polls are saying it. I'm just reading the polls.
But the polls are saying that Reform support is even higher now than it was at the election. And at the election, they got 4 million votes. Almost double what the Lib Dems got. And because of first past the post, they got...
But here's something, guys, that you might agree on. I mean, a lot of people out there will say, well, 16-year-olds don't have the experience, the life skills to be able to make...
I think Andy hasn't got the experience or life skills.
I agree with that. Yeah. I agree with that.
I'd take away your vote.
Yeah.
So I vote Labour. Wow, trying to suppress the Labour vote. Wow. Well,
I think some 16-year-olds probably are old enough to make a proper decision. Not most of them. I think that'd just be bonkers. But then again, there's people like you say, like Andy, who's walking around looking bewildered in the political wilderness, who I wouldn't give a vote to.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't give it to you. I've got to say, I disagree. I think that we should have a completely arbitrary line. I mean, I know it's 18 at the moment, but I think that at 18, if we're saying at 18 you are an adult, that's when you should be allowed to vote. Yeah. There are already millions of adults that aren't registered to vote. I think this entire idea we should be encouraging more people to vote is a little bit absurd. If you don't know what you're doing and you don't know who you're voting for, you don't know anything, there's no reason why you have to vote in the first place. I will say, I think that under the age of 18, you're a bit less likely to know what you're doing. I will give an admission. When I was 16, I was a massive Corbynite.
Were you?
I was a massive lefty.
Oh, that's the first for GBNews.
I was a massive lefty, and as soon as I started studying economics, that's when I became a free market liberal, a libertarian, and indeed moved over to the right.
Indoctrinated at university, in many such cases.
It wasn't indoctrination, it was learning, it was actually studying how the economy works, and indeed how wealth is created. And I want to live in a freer and more prosperous Britain. When I was 16, I didn't know what the hell I was talking about.
Well, Andy, as a socialist, Andy Andy knows how wealth's created, don't you? You just take money off rich people.
Just take it off, you steal
You
it.
need the rich, but
But guys,
I think
listen.
besides the point, I think votes at 16 it's not a priority.
Guys, it's time for the yes or no quiz. And you know the rules, Andy?
Yes.
Did you win last time?
Yes.
Reem, you know the rules, don't you?
I do know the rules. Very excited.
I think, did you beat Stephen Pound? No, that's a daft question. Everybody's beaten
Everyone beats
Stephen Pound. Right, OK, here we go. Yes or no. We'll start with you, Reem, or the Labour Party, Labour government, right to slash benefits.
Yes.
No.
OK, Andy, is Trump right to put tariffs on steel imports?
No.
Reem.
No.
Should e-bikes, Reem, be banned from the London Underground?
No.
No.
And Andy, should the diversity roles in the public sector be scrapped?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow, agreement. And last one, Andy, is Trump doing a good job?
No.
Reem?
Yes.
There was a slight verbal tick then, but it's 5 each. Andy, do you think we should have a tiebreaker?
Yes.
Reem?
Yes.
There's your tiebreaker question. Couldn't catch you out this week, so we're going to call it a tie. The reason I asked about e-bikes, there's been a few fires on the underground with e-bikes. Now, anybody knows anything about working underground, like I do, once you have a fire underground, it can be devastating very, very quickly. I think that's sort of why I asked, should we ban these e-bikes underground? Do you want to come back on that, Andy?
Well, I think e-bikes range, because you've obviously got your line bikes, but then you've also got these kind of pack-up bikes, which I think are the origin of the fire.
Yeah.
I think this comes down to battery safety, really. I think, local government and national government need to regulate and legislate so then there is a standard, and there needs to be a clampdown on the producers of these batteries more than anything.
Yeah.
Well, I disagree. I don't think there should be a clampdown on the producers. I think the point is we've already got quite stringent health and safety regulations, but people are using them legally. So if you were to ban e-bikes underground altogether, people would use them anyway, but they'd be using these quite illegal, dangerous batteries. So I actually think it would make the fires worse.
Number 4, the question asked for number 4, Andy, was should diversity roles within the public sector be scrapped? You both said yes, actually. You want to come back on that one?
HR is the enemy of the trade unions. HR for the bosses, not the workers. I'd be happy to see them all gone, to be honest with you.
I have a slightly different view, although I agree in the conclusion. I don't really care about the unions. I think the point is that what we would like to see is people being treated for who they are. Now, I am North African origin. I'm a woman.
From Harrow.
Tick a lot of the origin boxes. And ultimately, I want to be treated for who I am as an individual. I want to be treated based on my merit, based on how hard I work or how good I am at my job, not based on the colour of my skin. Now, I thought that was basic. However, the government have effectively legislated on this stuff, which means that people are being treated based on the colour of their skin. They are being treated based on their gender. And I think that ultimately that's racism. The government's mandated racism through things like the civil service fast stream, the fact that there's a fast stream just for minorities.
Andy, to be honest, most people out there, normal people out on the street, aren't bothered what colour skin you are, what sexuality you are, what sex you are. It's just a minority of people in high positions who are looking for groups of people and telling them continuously that you're a victim.
So on your question about Trump, that's why I said, on balance, yes.
Yeah.
Overall, Trump has effectively resulted in so many people now saying, you know what, diversity and inclusion, all of this stuff is absolutely rubbish. We've seen stuff with Facebook completely sacking all of their diversity roles. I would like to see that kind of thing happen in the UK. The reason why I hesitate on that question is because of everything that's happened with Ukraine, which I don't agree with.
Yeah.
I also don't agree with the tariffs.
Let's talk about that, Reem, the tariffs on steel. Is this just a threat, you think? Is it Trump being Trump, doing a bit of horse trading?
I think it could be both. The tariffs that he has already announced, I think, are absolutely going to be damaging to the American economy. Yeah. When you implement tariffs, they're basically a tax, right? Yeah. They're a tax on imports. It's going to be bad for UK steel, ultimately, because it means we're going to be exporting less, although what we've got left. We don't really export very much to the US anyway. I actually think it could be, now this is a bit of a theory I have, I think it could be quite good for the UK for infrastructure because Canada are no longer going to be able to sell all of that steel to the US. So there's going to be a huge flooding of steel in the whole world economy. And I think a lot of that is then going to reduce the price of steel in the UK. So we could have quite cheap steel as a result in the UK.
Quick one, Andy.
This is his Joe Biden moment. Honest to God, he's going senile. I don't know what he's doing. He's so erratic and irrational.
Well, Donald Trump's not here to defend himself.
I'm sure he'd call me a nasty name if he was here.
Why do you say it's erratic? I don't think it's erratic. I think it's wrong policy. But I don't think it's erratic.
Well, it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
It's not back and forth.
The way that they treated Zelensky and what.
Okay then, guys. A little bit of agreement throughout that quiz. 6 each on a tiebreak, so well done. Coming up next, we've got Last Orders with Ada McGee.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest winter sun forecast. After the recent warmth across the eastern Med, it is cooling down here, but still plenty of fine weather for parts of Turkey, Cyprus and the Greek islands. A little bit more unsettled for the rest of Greece and Italy, but especially so for Iberia, some very heavy rain coming here during the first part of the week. But after some recent unsettled weather for the Canaries, it is warming up here. Plenty of fine weather to come with highs in Tenerife, 23 degrees.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We've got plenty of fine weather in store across the UK during the week ahead. Temperatures on the rise too, but later in the week things will be turning more unsettled. High pressure is in charge at the moment, giving us the quiet conditions. This weather front, though, starting to push down from the north, introducing some cloud to some parts of England and Wales, and that's certainly the case as we go through the evening into the overnight period. A fair bit of cloud pushing its way southwestwards across England and Wales, bringing some patchy rain in places. So the clearest skies generally reserved for the north and northwest of the UK. Plenty of clear spells up across the north and west of Scotland, but as a result of the clear skies here, temperatures at their lowest. Could get down to -5 Celsius in 1 or 2 spots here by Monday morning. When it's towards the south and east of the UK with a cloud around, temperatures generally holding up just above freezing, so the frost here much more patchy. So we start Monday with plenty of sunshine towards the north and west of Scotland, further south and east across the country, a bit more cloud around, the odd spot of rain in places, and fairly cloudy too for parts of Northern Ireland, and variable cloud as we head south into England and Wales, thickest towards the south and southwest of the UK. Here we can see 1 or 2 showers to start the day on Monday, but as I say, the frost will tend to be quite patchy here. As we go through the rest of the day on Monday, the sunshine towards the northwest will tend to fade. The cloud increases from the south and southeast. Elsewhere though, a fair bit of cloud around, particularly towards the south and west of the UK. 1 or 2 showers down towards the southwest. And the sky is starting to clear across the east and southeast of England. The dry air starts to move in from the near continent. Plenty of sunshine here into the afternoon, but temperatures still struggling, no higher than 7 to 10 Celsius. 10 down towards the southeast is 50 in Fahrenheit. Tuesday looks like getting off to a pretty frosty start, a lot of clear weather around, but we will see plenty of sunshine then as we go through the day on Tuesday. Just a small risk of a shower towards the far north and northeast of the UK. And temperatures on the rise as we go through the week. By the middle to end of the week, could see temperatures in the high teens in 1 or 2 spots. Plenty of sunshine, but rain by Friday.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Well, that sounds like last orders at the bar, and my special guest tonight is Aidan McGee. Aidan,
good to see you, Lee.
Sports journalist, legend, worked for Sky Sports.
Did, yeah.
Do a lot for GB News now.
I do indeed, yeah. News of the World before that, did agency, did AFP, which was like a French news agency, still going in about 176 countries. So, but I came through the fanzine sort of scene back in the end of the 80s. If you remember that was kind of. It was fan TV of its time, really, but I was only like 11 or 12.
Yeah, I remember all that. And we were chatting earlier about football. You're a QPR fan.
Yeah.
I'm a Nottingham Forest season ticket holder, go with my boys.
QPR have won one match at the City Ground since 1933. It's embarrassing, isn't it?
That's a poor record, isn't it? It must be a tough life being a QPR fan.
It has been the last few years, yeah. It has, but your team's your team. You know, I was born in Paddington, probably 10-minute cab from the ground. Family lived in Willesden, and actually back then QPR were a better bet than Chelsea. I mean, my parents wouldn't have wanted me to go to Chelsea because there was a big hooligan scene there. QPR was the family club, plastic pitch. It was you couldn't get much more of a contrast in terms of the experience of going to Chelsea and QPR, even though they were probably 2.5 miles apart.
Yeah, it's a bit more corporate these days, Chelsea, isn't it?
QPR, they all are. They all are. I'm prone to a bit of corporate myself. I'm going to Middlesbrough next week to watch QPR.
Yeah,
up at the Riverside. Yeah.
So I always say, Aidan, that every pub is a parliament. You always get potential prime ministers sat there when they've had a few too many, telling people how to run the country. Normally me when I'm in a pub back in Ashfield. And every pub's got the England manager sat in the corner picking the next England side or the next striker for Manchester United, which is a great thing about pubs, isn't it? Because football does divide opinion, but it unites people as well. And, on a Saturday afternoon, the exciting thing for me is walking up to the ground, having a few pints with my kids, not knowing what the result's going to be. And if they win, it's great. It's fireworks, it's brilliant. You can go to work Monday morning and brag. If you lose, you keep your head down, don't you?
Well, it's funny because you mentioned that football being mentioned in pubs, being talked about in pubs, which it obviously is. It has been that way for decades and decades. But, when we worked on tabloid newspapers, our litmus test about how important a story was, whether it deserved back page prominence or inside spread or whatever, was basically how often people were talking about it down the pub. Yeah. Because that was, if they were talking about it there, the chances are they want to read about it more in the paper, and that was our rule of thumb, and we didn't deviate too much from that.
I suppose that's slightly different now with social media, with Twitter, with Facebook, and all these other social media platforms. People's got the news on the phone instantly, and you'll see a football thread on Facebook, and everybody piles on, don't they, straight away,
Well, I say about the modern player. That's something that they had to deal with. The criticism online is something that the players of probably even a decade ago didn't have to deal with. True. The hatred that comes through. Look, you've got to be resilient. You're in the wrong game in football or in journalism or anything like that, especially in politics. If you're not resistant to that, you've got to be built. You've got to have that inbuilt sort of maturity and that determination just to cast it aside. Yeah. Because and I just think that the modern footballer doesn't necessarily,
you're right,
built for that.
I look at the Forest match earlier this week, and that poor kid who took the last penalty.
Yes.
Missed it. It was a poor penalty, but you think about the abuse and stick he got online.
It's a hard game, though. It's a hard game, Lee. They get paid well. Yeah. Look, he's going to have many good days in his career to come, I'm sure. I'm sure he won't be defined by it. But, look at Gareth Southgate. Missed that penalty in Euro 96. Didn't stop him becoming England manager, did it?
It didn't. That's a fair point. And I think just Stuart Pearce missed one in that game, was it, as well?
No, he missed it in 1990.
That's right, yeah, he did in 90.
But what a career he had.
Yeah,
I don't think people remember Stuart Pearce just for that miss.
The season after that, he went on to score 17 goals in the Premier League.
I was there at one of them.
And didn't take one penalty.
I was there at one of them. He bent one round our goalkeeper at Loftus Road, December the 15th, 1990.
Jeez, what a mind, what a superb mind. Obviously a football nut. You love your football. I'll ask you this question, Aidan. Who's the best player you've ever seen on a football pitch?
Best player I've seen on a football pitch, there was a guy called Stefan Effenberg who played for Bayern Munich, late 90s, blonde guy. He was of his time. I'm not sure if he would do as well now because the game just changed a little bit. The rules probably just don't suit his style of play, but he was aggressive. He didn't have a very kind of... It wasn't always successful. He was sent home from World Cup 94 for V-signing his own crowd in Germany, but imperious. And he made Roy Keane look small in a game that I saw for Bayern Munich. But I've seen Messi. I saw Ronaldo many times cover Man United for the News as well. Back in the day, brilliant player. In terms of my favourite game, I'd have to say my favourite, not the best I've seen, but QPR beat Chelsea 6-0 on Easter Monday 1986. And a fellow called Gary Bannister scored a hat-trick. And that was one of my earliest games. Remember, QPR had a plastic pitch. I was 8 years old. The day I decided I wanted to become a journalist, October the 11th, 86, you remember that we scored after 8 seconds that day, and there were flashbulbs everywhere. And this was AstroTurf was fast football before fast football.
I'm having flashbacks now.
Yeah, I am.
I'm having some flashbacks. I'm pretty sure, you'll correct me because you're like an encyclopedia, that Nigel Clough scored a really quick hat-trick against QPR.
That was in October '87, yeah.
Oh,
I remember coming out of church. I came out of church in Rainham in Kent, because it was, bizarrely, it was played on a Sunday for some reason. That season, '87, '88, there were 21 teams in the league, so everyone got one club every week, twice a season, just got a weekend off. But we had to play on a Sunday. I can't remember what the reason was. It might be an international thing, but yeah, we were playing well. We were in the top 3 that season. Yeah. And we got absolutely hammered, and yeah, it was, as you say, 4-0, Clough hat-trick. I think Tommy Gaynor got the other one.
Tommy Gaynor, I think the hat-trick was in about 11 minutes or something.
Less than that, it was something like 4 or 5.
Wow, what an encyclopedia of knowledge.
Well, you know that the game where Stuart Pearce bent the ball around our goalkeeper, that was the first day I was published in a fanzine. First day I had an article published, I was 13.
So you're looking at football right back from the 80s when you got hooked.
Hooked big time. I remember the moment I was hooked.
Yeah.
I walked up the terracing, I could smell fags, I could smell burgers, and I got my first view of the pitch. Plastic pitch, AstroTurf, you know, it's like greengrocer turf. You know what it was like?
Yeah, and obviously
dangerous.
On the terraces, I remember going in the Trent End in the 80s, because it was all terrace. You had to be in there at 2 o'clock, because it was like that.
I know.
And,
so I was 8, so I was too big to be held. My dad wasn't interested in football. It was almost my older brothers who took me. One Chelsea, one QPR, but it was the QPR one who always took me to QPR. Too big to be held on the shoulders. I just had to get down the front, and it'd take you till about 15 minutes into the game just to get down to the front. And our goalpost as well was right where the crash barrier was.
And was you one of them irritating kids that once you got to the front say, I want to go to the toilet?
No, I just went where I was.
And they did, didn't they?
They did.
I know they did.
They did. I've heard stories about that. But I remember being at Southampton away, my first away game, QPR, August '86, and I got an education how to be a goalkeeper. I never was a goalkeeper, but it was just, I watched Peter Shilton. I was stood about 10 yards behind him, and he just kept the ball away from him. He told his defenders where to go, left, right, shuffle left, move over to the right, and I got an education that day about how an elite goalkeeper works, I tell you.
Well, I'm going to show you how a beer pump works now, Aidan. You've got the neck oil pint pots, you know, the ones, the coloured ones.
Yes, I do.
Grab one of those, mate.
I'm prone to a pint of this myself, actually.
Yeah, I did. It's my tipple in my local pub. And tell me, Aidan, how did your legendary pub career take off?
2 shifts in one day, Lee.
2 shifts?
My first and my last. Because, well, no, actually, to be fair, I did one in Norwich. It was covering for a lady who worked at our local student bar, actually.
So you did 2 shifts?
Yeah, I did 2 shifts.
Did they, were they restructuring, did they sack you, or did you just leave on your own accord?
I left. I was doing a favour.
Long left on the bar, mate. You're not doing yourself no favours there. That's
why I was sacked.
If Carlsberg made rubbish pints, it would probably be that, mate.
Would you get a drop out of that, do you reckon?
I think it's a good job you're interested in football and sports.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Look, I mean, come on, to be fair, I've not done it in many years.
Yeah, but if you walked into a pub, mate, in London, and what is it, 7 or 8 quid a pint in London?
For one of those, it is, yeah, certainly.
Yeah, if you asked for one of those and they put it on the bar, what would you say?
I don't know, but I mean, I'd be more inclined to purchase one of those from an ice cream van.
OK, greatest ever football manager in this country?
I think it's difficult to see beyond Brian Clough and Sir Alex Ferguson, if I'm honest with you, because I think Clough just a bit what he achieved.
Paisley and Shankly,
yeah, they did, but Paisley inherited a good side, an excellent side actually from Shankly. Shankly built Liverpool, but never really got the European success, and so it was a process there. It was more than a one-man job building Liverpool over that dynasty. Clough, what he achieved, not just with Forest and the back-to-back Derby as well, league title in the mid-75, I think it was, back-to-back European Cups, another league title. He had cup success, a very successful cup side in the 80s.
He did.
Don't forget, he was going up against juggernaut sides all throughout that period. And he always said that if he'd stayed at Derby County, if he'd been allowed to operate by the chairman who was there at the time, he said that he would have made Derby County into the most successful side in the country. It might have not gone down well with you.
And their loss was our gain.
It was indeed, it was. So you got him, and then for Sir Alex Ferguson managing that place, I saw how close, at close quarters, what it meant.
Of course, it was Forest that saved him his job in...
Mark Robbins.
Yeah, Mark Robbins scored that goal.
QPR played them the week before, missed a chance last minute.
That was a dodgy goal as well. Anyway, Aidan.
Great to see you, Lee.
That's gone quick. That's Aidan McGee, last orders.
We'll see a cold snap, which will quickly develop into a warm front. Boxed Boiler Repairs, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We've got plenty of fine weather in store across the UK during the week ahead. Temperatures on the rise too, but later in the week things will be turning more unsettled. High pressure is in charge at the moment, giving us the quiet conditions. This weather front, though, starting to push down from the north, introducing some cloud to some parts of England and Wales, and that's certainly the case as we go through the evening into the overnight period. A fair bit of cloud pushing its way southwestwards across England and Wales, bringing some patchy rain in places. So the clearest skies generally reserved for the north and northwest of the UK. Plenty of clear spells up across the north and west of Scotland, but as a result of the clear skies here, temperatures at their lowest could get down to -5 in 1 or 2 spots here by Monday morning. Whereas towards the south and east of the UK with a cloud around, temperatures generally holding up just above freezing, so the frost here much more patchy. So we start Monday with plenty of sunshine towards the north and west of Scotland, further south and east across the country, a bit more cloud around, the odd spot of rain in places, and fairly cloudy too for parts of Northern Ireland, and variable cloud as we head south into England and Wales, thickest towards the south and southwest of the UK. Here we can see 1 or 2 showers to start the day on Monday, but as I say, the frost will tend to be quite patchy here. As we go through the rest of the day on Monday, the sunshine towards the northwest will tend to fade, as cloud increases from the south and southeast. Elsewhere though, a fair bit of cloud around, particularly towards the south and west of the UK, 1 or 2 showers down towards the southwest. And the sky starting to clear across the east and southeast of England. The dry air starts to move in from the near continent. Plenty of sunshine here into the afternoon, but temperatures still struggling, no higher than 7 to 10 Celsius. 10 down towards the southeast is 50 in Fahrenheit. Tuesday looks like getting off to a pretty frosty start, a lot of clear weather around, but we will see plenty of sunshine then as we go through the day on Tuesday. Just a small risk of a shower towards the far north and northeast of the UK. And temperatures on the rise as we go through the week. By the middle to end of the week, could see temperatures in the high teens in 1 or 2 spots. Plenty of sunshine, but rain by Friday.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
First of all, are we talking about the West and the East, or is this a Western phenomenon?
Wholly Western phenomenon, which excludes China, where things are still in a healthy state.
What's happening in the West, then?
It's been going on for quite a while, and it's